In the final year of his tumultuous 10-year journey home from Troy, Odysseus leaves the mythical island of Ogygia on his hand-built raft, navigating the seas by keeping the constellation of the Orion to his left while he sails, as he was instructed by Calypso. After 17 days of harsh seas, he glimpses in the distance a mountain range poking through the clouds. And after a further 3 days of struggle as he was subjected to the wrath of Poseidon, he finally washes upon the shore of Scheria, the home of the Phaeacians. Scheria, also called Phaeacia or Phaeacia, is a region in Greek mythology, first mentioned in Homer's Odyssey, and is widely considered to be the first Utopia. Homer describes Scheria as an isolated place on the edge of the known world, which has been blessed by the gods to have no enemies. As Nausicaa, the daughter of Alcinous, the kind king of Scheria, says, "That mortal man lives not, or exists, nor shall ever be born, who shall come to the land of the Phaeacians as a foeman. For we are very dear to the immortals. Far off we dwell in the surging sea, the furthermost of men, and no other mortals have dealings with us." After landing on the island of Scheria, Odysseus, with the help of Lady Athena and his usual trickery, is taken to the palace of Alcinous, which is made with walls constructed from shining bronze and has golden gates. Before the doors lay two immortal dogs, constructed for great-hearted Alcinous by the great god Hephaestus, made of silver and gold, and within the palace walls there's a beautiful garden where pomegranate, apple and pear trees grow all year round. In the night time, the palace is lit by golden statues of youths holding torches, and the Phaeacian leaders could eat and drink as much as they like, as the palace stores could never run out. 50 slave women worked the house, grinding grain and spinning yarn. The Phaeacians were a sea-bearing people. That much Homer makes exceedingly clear, even just by the names of some of the locals, which can be translated as Riptide, Topsail, and Seagirt, the son of Great Fleet, just to name a few of a plethora of maritime-related names. Perhaps what the Phaeacians are most well known for is their ships, which are truly incredible. They were very different than the traditional pentaconters used in the Trojan War, and were able to be controlled just by thought. They were incredibly quick, with Homer describing them as even quicker than a falcon, the swiftest of birds, and Alcinous remarks how they had previously taken Rhadamanthus, the son of Zeus and Europa, all the way to Euboea and back in the same day. He also describes to Odysseus how the ships work. "Tell me also your country, nation, and city, that our ships may shape their purpose accordingly and take you there. For the Phaeacians have no pilots, their vessels have no rudders, as those of other nations have, but the ships themselves understand what it is that we are thinking about and want. They know all the cities and countries in the whole world, and can traverse the sea just as well, even when it is covered with mist and cloud, so that there is no danger of being wrecked or coming to any harm." Here we can see Scheria as a utopia in its fullest form. Not only do they live in lavish palaces decorated with the finest of metals, blessed by the gods to have no enemies, but they possess a fleet of autonomous magical vessels, capable of taking them across the known world and back in a day. These qualities may seem idyllic to modern audiences. Imagine what they must have represented in Homer's day. When the poems attributed to Homer were written down as a tense discussion, but pretty much no matter the date, the ancient world was a harsh place, where violence and death and struggle was a constant, while harsh seas take lives without restraint. These people rely on the sea for trade and war, but they also live in fear of it. Hence why Scheria represents a true ancient utopia, an island with no worries of violence or lack of food, and they can even cross the mighty ocean with a mere fort. These people are akin to gods. Even gods fight each other. Interestingly, the Phaeacians are punished by the great god Poseidon for helping Odysseus, who he viewed as an enemy after he killed the Cyclopean son of Poseidon, Polyphemus. Once the ship which was carrying Odysseus had returned from Ithaca, the sea god turned it to stone, perhaps showing that although the Phaeacians have been blessed by the gods, they still have to answer to them. I recently read an interesting interpretation of the description of the Scherian ships in Adam Nicholson's book, The Mighty Dead, Why Homer Matters. He suggested that the ships which could be controlled with just a thought represented a memory of an ignorant man coming from further north in Greece, perhaps from the steppes, who had previously only experienced the turmoil of a kayak powered by oar, who sees for the first time a sailing ship, which appears to the man to be propelled by the sheer thoughts alone of the crew. The word for the inhabitants of Scheria, the Phaeacians, which in ancient Greek is Phaeakes, comes from the word phaios, meaning grey. And the word Utopia is actually a rather modern invention, first used in 1516 by Sir Thomas More for his Latin text Utopia, and originally came from the ancient Greek ou topos, literally meaning no place, and meant a non-existent society. This is often confused with eutopos, which means a good place, and although it is not the original origin, ironically it is much more fitting for the way utopia is used in modern language. As is the case with most mythological regions, there are many different interpretations for the possible location of Scheria, and perhaps the most popular and the oldest interpretation is with the island of Corfu. This was first attested by Thucydides, the 5th century BC Athenian historian and general, who talks of the inhabitants of Scheria, the old name for Corfu, saying that the Corcyrians could not repress a pride in the high naval position of an island, whose nautical renown dated from the days of its older inhabitants, the Phaeacians. Unsurprisingly, modern inhabitants of Corfu agree with this interpretation, claiming that this rock on the western coast of the island is in fact a ship turned to stone by Poseidon. However, geographically, this does not seem to make much sense, as although they had heard of Odysseus, the people of Scheria do not recognise him and refer to him as a stranger, yet Corfu lies only 70 miles from Odysseus' homeland of Ithaca, and is even closer to the Ionian islands which Odysseus was also king of, including Cephallenia, Neritum, Crocylea, Aegylips, Same, and Zakynthus. So it would be unlikely that they would not recognise Odysseus. This is also paired with Odysseus saying to the noblemen of Scheria that he hopes that he may be counted as your friend, though I live so far away from all of you. Which obviously wouldn't make much sense if it was only 70 miles away from his homeland of Ithaca, suggesting that Corfu may not be a very accurate interpretation of the location of Scheria. Other interpretations include the 1st century BC geographer Strabo, who argued that both Ogygia and Scheria lay in the Atlantic Ocean. And some have argued that the seafaring qualities and laid-back lifestyle of the Phaeacians are hallmarks of Minoan Crete. All in all, every interpretation is rather circumstantial, and the high likelihood is that the Utopia of Scheria was just that, a utopia, and not an accurate representation of a real place. Thank you for watching. Feel free to comment with your opinion of the locations of Scheria, who the Phaeacians were, and also any criticisms or improvements of the video. Alright, thanks.